Hi, my name is MachineRite, and I'm making sure that you guys understand Fortnite. This video is going to be about the jump peak. I wanted to start with a more unknown peak, or something that someone might not classify as a peak, rather than the kind of overdone right peak and crouch peak. I will get to those eventually because there is still stuff to add on to those, but the jump peak I think is more interesting and more useful in kind of all ranges of the game. So first I want to go over the core elements of a peak. So first of all, what is a peak? I would classify it as a situation where, first of all, you have cover. Second of all, you can see them with your third-person camera. Now, a peak is much different than a first-person game. In a first-person game, a peak is actually dangerous to use because the person who already has vision, or who is holding the angle, like in Counter-Strike, usually has the advantage. Now, you can get into pre-firing and stuff like that, but that's not super important in this. So first, I just want to go over the core elements of what a peak is. So a peak has a few advantages. So number one, I can see them with my third-person camera, but they can't see me. If you go over here to this example, there is where I was standing. Now you're going to be able to see the health bar because it's a target, but I have to walk pretty far forward before I start to see this guy. I can jump and start to see him, but still, this guy is going to have the advantage down here. Next, I can set up crosshair placement. So I can set up my crosshair to where I jump and it's already where it needs to be. I'm actually not going to set up my crosshair like this. I'm going to set it up so that it's on my target as soon as my gun's exposed, because I'm going to time it. So yeah, like I said, timing your shot, that's very important, because this guy up here, he can't see you yet. He has to react, and you also look, he has quite a bit of area to cover, so he cannot get good crosshair placement. He is going to have to react to wherever you are, and if you're down here, you have a lot of areas that you can stand and still see him. So another advantage of a peak is that, first of all, these advantages can be sought out. I can go and forcefully obtain this advantage, where if you saw my other video on swap delay is a given advantage. So that's a mistake that you're going to have to wait for your opponent to make, where this is something I can seek out. When I'm in a fight, I am basically keeping note of all of the peaks I can use, and depending on what situation I'm put in, I can figure out which one is going to be the easiest one to use in that situation, and I can give myself an advantage from low ground, from high ground, wherever it is. Obviously your opponents can go around this, or get around this. So for example, if I was here, so this is like using the jump peak. If I jump all the way from the bottom here, like if I strafe down, I can't see him all the way from the bottom, but I still kind of have an idea where he is. I can use sound as well to figure out. But yeah, I can expose a very small amount of myself and still time the shot. So right there, if I'm all the way at the bottom here, only my head and my gun is being exposed there. That's a very hard target to hit, and half my body is exposed, so I'm also able to maintain a cover advantage sometimes with peaks. So if I wanted to counter this, all I have to do is recognize that I'm in a jump peak disadvantage, where I know my opponent is down there, either from sound or just guessing, and right away I can counter it by using a reversed ramp. Right away I can counter this by putting a ramp in front of myself, and then this gives me cover to his jump peak. If I'm crouched up here, I can peek around with my camera and see where he is, and I can and I've reversed the situation. So this guy will have to give up his jump peak position and give himself cover. So I'm going to show a more practical application of this. So if I'm in a build fight here, this guy may have just built up 90, I don't know whatever he's done, and I've ramped up the side here. So what I can do is I can use this area as a jump peak. Now, someone who's more vigilant or aware may right away know that I'm coming up here, and they can set up some sort of other peak here. But anyways, going from here to here, if I'm here, I'm gonna have the advantage, and I can get the jump peak. And also, when using these, you want to kind of put yourself to where you're going to expose the least amount of yourself as possible. That's what's going to make these the most effective. So, like that. Now, if I wanted to be safer, like if he is more aware, or if I just want to be more safe in general, I can go and place a cone and a floor here. You want to get your cone down because otherwise he would just block you. So you edit your floor like this, so you get your shotgun out, and then you can get your cone edited into like this kind of deal where it's just going to break off. So you don't have to be quick really when doing this, but you can set it up, and then right here, boom, you have a jump peak with this piece here. You can also do it from this position too. And you can miss, I guess, part of the game. Anyways, let's say we have this guy in a box and we've taken the wall. There's a couple peeks you can do here. Obviously the window peek if you want to do a right hand peek, but even more effective than a right hand peek is often this peek. I can actually get really far here in the corner, and look at this, I can get a shot off from this corner here. It's very cheap. That is very difficult to react to. First of all, barely any of my body is exposed. It's literally like pretty much just my gun, just because of the angle of this. My head actually gets exposed for, you know, like half a second. So this is a very effective peek, especially if you can optimize it to where you can time it in the corner here. Now obviously, stationary target, super easy to hit. You want to practice this against moving targets so that you're ready for an actual opponent. Next situation or scenario you can kind of use this in, this is kind of like an end game scenario. If you have somebody carpeting above you, you can kind of jump around. You're going to want to use sound here to kind of figure out their general location, because you don't only have to use sight here. So yeah, you can kind of get a jump here and get like proper line of sight or proper crosshair placement to where they're going to be. You can jump backwards and then catch yourself. So yeah, get crosshair placement, jump backwards, catch yourself, and if they're not dead, or if you think they might be ready for it, then you can block your top two with whatever builds you feel is necessary, and you could possibly block a returning shot. But yeah, if you land a good headshot here, or like most cases in endgame, people aren't 200 health, so yeah, so that is the jump peak. So what I encourage you to do is not only use the tricks that I've shown you, but also just take this core element of you being behind cover from low ground and using your camera to get a peak angle and get your crosshair placement set up, get your shot timing down, and you can use, there's like an infinite amount of possibilities you can use this peak. You can use it from down here, things like that if you want to, and then also experimenting with this technique. If you're low ground on a ramp like this, you can also set up peaks like this. There's lots of possibilities with this jump peak, and I would say it's probably even more common than a right hand peak, just because you can also use it in turtle scenarios like I showed you with this. So yeah, that's all I wanted to show in this video. Thanks.